Okay, so like I was saying earlier in the show today, we're doing another Disney Heart to Heart style episode. We're super excited about this episode because we have the privilege of having Gary Pilla on the show, and he is a artist who focuses on Disney art, and the art that he does is absolutely incredible. We love his art. He does sculptures, he does paintings. I mean, you definitely have to take some time to check out his art. He does incredible art. So welcome to the show, Gary. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Brian. Hey, Jess. How we doing?
We're doing
Good.
good. How about
Good.
you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on. Of
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
course.
So just so our viewers and listeners can really get to know you, we love to give all our guests like a time for you to just tell them who you are,
Yeah.
how you got into the art, and your love for Disney and things like that. So
Sure.
I'll give you the floor, and then if you want to go over that, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Thanks. So, yeah, I'm Gary Pilla, and I'm blessed to be from a family of many artists. My grandfather, my father, and I have a sister that's a fantastic artist. She's one of these people that could come into your home and transform it. She can do just the craziest stuff with murals and tile, and I was blessed to have some abilities as well. And when I was young, I caught the Disney itch when we took our first trip to the Magic Kingdom. That was 1979, so I was 10. And there was only the Magic Kingdom. There wasn't even Epcot yet. There was nothing, and there was a life-changing moment for me, as I'm sure many people that listen to this, and as you are, when you had that first trip, you had that thing that just hit you, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is everything. And I remember my greatest memory from that is they used to have an attraction called the Mickey Mouse Revue. That has since moved to Tokyo Disneyland. It's not in the Magic Kingdom anymore, unfortunately. I loved it. Well, this was all animatronics, and Mickey would come up on the stage. He was underneath the stage, and he would rise, and he would turn around, and he would direct the entire band, and the band was all animatronic Disney characters. And to me, it was the greatest thing I ever saw. And so when we went home after the trip, I had all these Disney banks. They were big in the 70s. They were just their heads. You may have seen them before. They had a Mickey, a Donald, a Goofy, Pluto, Donald. They had them all. And I had these.
So I got to stop you real quick.
There he is. There's one right there.
We found this at a
Antique
shop 2 minutes from our house. Is this the same essential?
Yep, that's one of them right there. And so what I did was I had these steel NFL garbage cans. I bet you don't have one of those. And, and I turned them upside down, and I put the heads on each one of them, and I put my communion suits and all that stuff on each one of them, and I put a little record player behind them, and I would listen to When You Wish Upon a Star to go to sleep. And that was really crazy and weird, but that's what I am. And that's how I got the spark. And ever since then, I've been making Disney a part of my life. We grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I didn't move down to Florida until about 6 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I had over 500 visits, and being from Ohio, that's how obsessed I was before we got here. And it's just this feeling that you get. You feel like everything is possible, everything's going to be okay, that you're safe, right? We want that feeling all the time. So that's how I got into it. I was classically trained. I went to Art Institute of Pittsburgh and honed my skills, and I became an art director, and I directed commercials, 300 of them actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And got into animation with a good friend of mine. We made a little cartoon, which did not great, but it was a great experience to do that. And then just eventually, when COVID hit, is when I got heavy into doing just Disney art, because I was trapped, and like all of us were, and I needed an outlet. And so I started ordering clay, and someone noticed my works online, and that got me to do some Donald Duck sculptures that were licensed and put in the Disneyana gallery in Denmark. So that was my
That's
that was
awesome.
my way in right there.
That's
And
really cool.
yeah, so around me you see paintings, but here is a sculpture.
Wow.
And
I
she's a
love
nurse.
it.
I make these out of clay,
That is
and
awesome.
so Minnie here, she's about 20 inches high, and yeah, she's all handmade with clay. I only make one of a kind pieces. I never make more than
Wow.
one of the same. And so yeah, this was fun because someone had a child that was graduating and becoming a doctor, and so she wanted
Wow.
it for her daughter, and so I was happy to do that.
That's
So
awesome.
Now, how
yeah,
long does it take you to make one of those?
well, typically there's about, I'd say about 120 hours on
Wow.
average, but some of them can be less. Some could be 60 hours. Some of them could be 250 hours. It just
Wow.
depends on how detailed, how big, how many characters. Because I've done these very involved pieces with multiple characters. But you know, the sculpting is a very interesting process. You know, it's kind of like if you think about your body. If you didn't have the bones, we would just fall over. So
Yep.
you know, I build a skeleton first out of metal. We call it an armature. Okay, and from there you put the clay over it, because if the whole thing was solid clay, it would weigh 10,000 pounds.
Mhm.
It would probably crack and all those types of things. So it's a process, but I find it very therapeutic, and I really do.
That's awesome.
You know, I remember seeing a lot of your stuff come through in 2020, and I tell you, it was really nice to be able to see stuff like that, because you didn't get that during 2020, and it was just nice to be able to see something and all the people keeping Disney alive.
Yeah, thanks. It was, I mean, it's amazing. You know, the world still feels different to all of us, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I don't know if it'll ever feel the way it was, but yeah, it was a way for me to just keep myself happy, you know, making these characters that I love. You know, I didn't do it with the thought of, oh, someone's gonna notice me and want to license my work or buy my work or whatever. I just like, I'm just doing this to pass the time. And it's been very, very gratifying for sure.
I can certainly say you've brought a lot of happiness to a lot of people around the world with your art, because seeing, you know, because you're very active in posting, and it's really great to see the process sometimes of you know, because I remember like you'll show something, oh look, beginning stages, but you might tease it a little bit, not really say what it is, but to see the process of it was incredible.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
even with your paintings that you do as well, same thing. I mean,
right.
You bring a breath of fresh air to social media, because
thanks.
there's
You know, it's funny because, all honesty, I'm not a fan of social media, of doing it. I know that I have to do it to keep people excited. You know, I mean, you know, that's what it's all about. I don't, you know, I have a good amount of followers, but I don't do it for money. I mean, I don't get any money from my posts. You know, I'm you know, there's no monetizing that comes. It's just I just do it to make people smile. And it's so satisfying when you see that. I mean, I've gained a lot of friends online. I mean, it's amazing. This is what's amazing about social media, when you can have a connection with people that you would have never met, you know, never bumped into, never had any reason to, but they like my art. And then, you know, I try really hard to respond to people, because I get a lot of messages sometimes and it's hard to get to them, but I try to. And it's amazing. I have been able to create and make things for people that have, you know, gone through great things. I've made some things for people that have gone through some very sad things, loved ones they've lost or whatever, where I've made things to memorialize their family members. And that's, you know, and those are very emotional when I'm making them, but then I feel so good that they'll always have that as a memory, and I could do that for them, means a lot. So that's been a very, very satisfying part of this, you know, just, and people are waiting. You know, it's funny, they'll be like, okay, you know, when's the next this, when's the next that? and I love it so much.
You know, if you want to jump on that bandwagon of making people really excited, you should jump on the Princess Diaries 3 thing happening right now.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean,
The girl in me is going, yes.
It's so funny. It's so funny that you bring that up, because one of my hot buttons right now, and it's not just Disney, it's everybody. I am so done with sequels and remakes and
Yep.
and rebooting things. And I understand your desire for it. I do, because there's these things that we loved, right? And we want to see more. We want to see more of it. But I feel like these companies, and like I said, it's not just Disney, but I don't know if it's a combination of they just can't hit the mark with anything new.
Yep.
And this is an easy one. This is an easy one. We know we already have the built-in audience. We'll do another one. People love these characters, and I think it's really tough, because if you take a look at talking back to Disney, at the Disney juggernaut, okay, it's really based on many things, but the system works like this: we create something that is memorable, okay, whether it's a movie, content, TV show, whatever, okay. And if it hits and it's beloved, it then pours in and it funnels down. It funnels into the parks, into merchandise, right? Things that we all carry with us, we bring home, we go back, we can't wait to see that character again. If you take a look at what's happened in the last 20 years, there aren't a whole lot of those things that funnel in that we take with us anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there really aren't. I mean, I think that there've been some. I'm not saying that everything isn't where it needs to be, but I a lot of these sequels makes me feel like long term we're going to have less new memorable characters that will live on. For the next generation, the next generation.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, because, for example, like the Hocus Pocus movie, the first one was phenomenal. People loved it. The second one, I could do a whole nother series on my feelings about Hocus Pocus 2.
100%. And
there were a lot of holes in it, and some things didn't make sense. Like there was a scene where they were watching Hocus Pocus 1 in one of the scenes. I'm like, that doesn't work.
Right.
I think people felt it was very Disney Channel quality.
It was very Disney Channel quality.
Yeah. And it's not that they're all bad. I mean, there have been some sequels that are wonderful. I mean, Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 are 3 of the greatest movies ever made. And I wish they would have ended it with 3.
Yes.
And it's not that 4 is a bad movie. It wasn't needed. It's like it was the perfect ending. Let it go. Now they're doing a 5th one. It's like we're doing all these Frozen movies, and we're doing more Inside Outs, and we're doing more, It's just like, come on, give me, where's the new stuff? The stuff that made all this. Because remember, at one point, where am I looking? This, this was a new idea that brought in so many new fans. This is so beloved. The amount of fans of this love story is incredible. And it just started with an idea and it grew and it became something just so amazing. I don't want to see another Peter Pan movie. We love Peter Pan. So anyway, sorry, soapbox on that gets away from what I do.
Perfectly okay.
But it actually ties into what I do, because I get very few requests for anything new, and that's why. I really don't. I mean, I've made a few things from Inside Out, but Inside Out is a good one. I think they've done very well with that.
Inside Out is great, because I think when introducing anxiety in the second one was for an adult, very relatable.
Yeah.
Like we sat down and watched it and go, oh my goodness, it's like watching me. Like
it's true. I mean, they hit the nail on the head. It's very relatable. And I feel like when they can do characters that keep them away from things that can become political or social.
Yep.
Which is what the characters in their head are. We don't have to worry about race. We don't have to worry about any of the things that are that make people, for whatever reason, right, say, why is Disney pushing this or that or whatever? And it's just like, do animal movies, do monsters movies, do whatever, because everybody gets themselves all worked up over what they perceive to be right or wrong, an agenda, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done a really good job with those. And again, back with the art, I very rarely do stuff that's from the newer stuff, and I would love to. The Disney core, which we are, your fans that watch, we love the classics. We love that stuff, right? That will never leave here. Okay.
Yeah.
But there was a time when this company that we love was struggling in the early 80s. I mean, they were in trouble. There were conversations of selling off pieces to Comcast, and they hadn't had a winner in a very long time. And they brought in Eisner and Wells and Katzenberg, and everything changed. And we had this whole Renaissance era that was all new. That was all fresh. That could have easily just been, hey, let's make sequels for 101 Dalmatians. Let's make another Peter Pan. Let's make another Jungle Book, whatever, which eventually they made all those things go to video. But, we had all this fresh stuff, and we love these characters so much. I mean, I'm literally daily, when are you going to do another Ariel? When are you going to do Beauty and the Beast? When are you going to do something from Aladdin? I mean, I want Scar. It's like that era provided so much love that was missing for a long time. And I think they can do it again. I really do. New ideas are out there.
Oh yeah.
We can find them. It's just gonna, it's gonna take time.
Well, you could do ones like anxiety, or you could do like Noelle was watching what is that movie? Silencio Bruno.
Oh, you're about Encanto.
No, there is Bruno in Encanto. No,
the one that drives
Luca.
the Vespa.
Yeah,
Luca. Yeah.
Yeah, Luca was one of those. I felt Luca was one of those sleepers, right? Like, I believe that went direct to Disney Plus because it was like at the end of COVID kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like the Goofy movie. Like the Goofy movie was one of these things like, oh, it's how funny, how good can it be? It's great. And and Luca is great. I couldn't believe how much fun it was.
Yeah, it's just funny because some of the movies that go straight to Disney people don't watch, and you go, that was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like the live action of I don't know if you've seen it, but the live action of Lady and the Tramp came out, and it gave you a backstory about Tramp, and I go, okay, now we know like little details. And I'm not huge on remaking movies into live actions. I'm really not, because they changed some stuff. But when they add in information that you didn't have from the cartoons, it's better. So like Beauty and the Beast, when it came out, you found out what the heck happened to Belle's mom.
Right.
And why there it seems to be this time loop where everyone's like, she's weird. Like, but why?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Reading. Why is she weird? So I like that they put those kind of things in there.
Kind of like the new one coming out, Mufasa. You're gonna get a backstory on Mufasa and possibly Scar.
Well, watching the trailer, we are so off topic.
Yeah, I know. We'll drive it back on the rails.
I started editing this. You can edit this down all you want.
It's all right. This is what a podcast is for,
Right, exactly.
So, watching the trailer for Mufasa, they show some scenes with Scar, and I go, well, now I kind of feel for Scar, because Mufasa was kind of a jerk. Like, no wonder he's mad at you.
No. I'm not changing my opinion on Scar. That's hilarious.
That is.
All right.
All right.
Back to artwork. Yeah. Back to artwork.
So going back on your art,
yes.
What would you say? What was your first piece of art that was Disney themed that really got you started?
So as far as like work that became realized, because I've been drawing Mickey since I was a young boy, and I mean, I could draw Mickey with my eyes closed. it's such a. I mean, seriously, everybody always asks, what's your favorite, what's your favorite character to draw? What's your this? What's your that? And it's always Mickey. I mean, Mickey is just, oh my gosh,
iconic.
Yeah, iconic. It's like I always go like this right here.
Yep.
But I did a Donald Duck sculpture for Disney. That's actually people. I can include the link or whatever when you put this up.
Yep.
It's in Denmark. I believe they made 10 bronze sculpts of the Donald, and that had a special patina to it. And then they did another one that was more of a shimmering gold. They did 10 of those.
Wow.
And now they're doing the resin version of that, which should be for Donald's 90th, coming out, I think, at the end of the year. They do 100 of those. So that was the thing that got me going. That was very exciting. I sent some photos to you all. So
yep.
So you have the Donalds in there.
We'll include it in the posts.
Yeah, and I really just it doesn't matter how much you can cut this out, guys. You advertise. I'm just happy to talk to you guys. You don't have to worry about.
Oh no,
plugs or whatever.
Please plug as much as you want about what you have going on. That's what we love. People.
Okay.
We love having people on the show so they can do that as well. So
okay, yeah. I mean, just search for me. Just if you go to GaryPilla.com. See my name up there. It will take you to everything I've done. You can see this stuff that is for sale with Disney, and you can just see all my other, one-of-a-kind pieces too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about our Facebook group is that we let people post what they're doing between vlogs or your sculptures and paintings or any selling stuff off Etsy, because a lot of groups don't let you do that.
Sure.
And we just felt that you should be able to share that with other Disney people, not be afraid of this isn't allowed and that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
So just for all our listeners and viewers, any kind of links or anything like that Gary mentions, we'll make sure we will put in the show notes below. So you have all that to click on and check out as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
As far as my favorite, I mean, I've done so many that it would be very hard for me to do like a favorite. I mean, I've done some sculptures that mean so much to me. You'll see a sculpture of Dante from Pixar. That's just, when you're working on something and you're like, oh, this looks like it's going to be pretty good. And then you finish it and you're like, oh, man. So that ended up being a big deal. Pixar actually featured that on their page, which was great. I love.
Wow.
Is it Dante as an Alebrije or is it Dante
yes.
as Dante?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I see this.
Yeah. You can see that on Pixar's Instagram.
I'll definitely go look it up.
Done a huge Rafiki once, which is fantastic, and you have those.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were showing someone picture. I think we were showing Noelle pictures earlier, and I think we showed her Rafiki.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I've done so many.
Have you ever done the castle?
I have. I did the castle
as a sculpture.
As a sculpture, yeah. That was. I don't know that I would ever do it again.
It probably really
came out great. It came out great, but it was one of those, like I say, 250-hour jobs.
Wow.
It was just because it's when you do a character. Okay, when you do a character, there's flexibility. There is room for error, if you will. That can you can accentuate certain things. If I want a certain expression, I can push, the eyes maybe a little further apart or whatever. I can push your ears a little further back. When you're doing something that is so perfect architecturally, you can't have any mistakes. It has to be perfect. And it was, for my mind, it was just too much. It's like why I became a more of a traditional artist than somebody that went into like architecture, because I just everything being so precise, that's not who I am. I work fast, and And that was tough for me. I love things that have lots of emotion. That's really important to me. I mean, these guys right here. I mean, the love with these two.
Wow.
I mean, every time. I mean, whatever that is, maybe it's the first 15 minutes of that movie, however long it is, where there's not a word spoken. It's just the music. I think the song's called Married Life. And it takes you through all the emotion of when they met, when they lost the baby, when he can't get up the hill, and then now she can't get up the hill, and she's, he needs to go have his adventure. That's like, I mean, I get chills actually just thinking about it as we talk about it. So when I can do something like that and you can capture that emotion, it's just so special. I like to do a lot of things that are mashups.
Oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, I
with the
love
Haunted
that.
Mansion, and so I do. What I do is, like I said, I only do one. I never do more than one piece of the.
Yep.
Are there claims on that painting?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you know because someone is deciding right now on it. But it's always fun to take something and just put it on its head and do something else. I do a lot of Tinkerbells. People love Tink.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And it's sometimes I'll do things that are just a little more free form. I just like kind of that loose color in the background there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. And then, but there's times when I'll do Tinkerbell and I'll do her, with, more.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
And I'll put like some glitter if you can see it on her.
Oh yeah.
You see a little bit. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's honestly more about the emotion for me. If I can do something where, I mean, if you look at Walt back there, that was really funny. I remember when I was in college, back before we had running water, they had us practice using gels, black and white gels, just to kind of master and get. If you can't get it right in black and white, how are you going to get it right in color? Because what it is, it's about values. Okay, it's really about values versus this much of this color or that color. So doing that with him has been so much fun. It's not completely done, but I mean, just trying to push all the levels to make sure that he looks as real as possible.
You said he's not done?
He's getting close. He's not done. I got a little more detail to do with his one hand and stuff, but he's pretty close. He's pretty close. Yeah.
I love Walt and anything Walt. I'm a big fan of Walt.
Right. Yeah. He's something else. There've been so many years where people try to say bad things about him, and that would always bother me. And
me too.
And we had a very good family friend, Dave Smith. He's the one that started the archives for Disney back in 1970, I believe, is when he started the archives. And Dave was so incredible just to sit down and talk with, and he would share so many stories with us about him. And when he was a kid, he was in Disneyland, and he went up to Walt and he wanted an autograph. And Walt, if you've seen Save Mr. Banks, he would get he would just have them on business cards and hand them out, right? Because everybody wants Walt Disney's autograph. Well, Walt didn't have anything to give him. And he said, "You write a letter to me, and I promise you." And sure enough, Walt sent him his autograph in the mail. And somebody that was that big and that important to take the time to do that, to me, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
He would always share all these stories with us, and he took us before he passed. He passed about, thinking maybe 4 years now. 4 years ago, he passed away. But he took us up into the apartment on above the firehouse, which now you can do as a tour, but back then you couldn't.
Yeah.
And we went up there, and I swear to you, it's exactly like it was when he was alive. I mean, it is like everything you've seen in pictures with him and Lillian and the kids. That's what it is. Yeah, it's really cool.
You wanted to do the tour when we went to Disneyland last time.
Yeah, it was just right after
2021.
It was right after COVID, so it was like the only thing that didn't bring back yet. And it was like 2 weeks later they brought it back. I'm like, really?
A lot of friends came back right after we got home. Like Magic Happens parade came 2 days after we left. I was like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
going back on what you said, it does bother me when people say all these things about Walt, and it's like, look what Walt has created. I
Right.
mean,
He's literally
it's
living
this.
on the streets.
Yeah, he started practically from the streets in his younger adult life,
Right.
and I mean, he had a. I'm not going to say a horrible upbringing. He just had a very, very strict upbringing.
Yes.
And because he loved his family, and he said that a lot. Talking about the paper routes he did for his dad and things like that. But
Oh yeah.
times were tough then. Then going to his early adult life, being on the streets, and then starting the Walt Disney Company into something what it is now. I mean, I truly believe that he knew he was onto something, but I don't know if he knew how big it was really going to get.
Well, I mean, well. In all honesty, it did get very big in his life. I mean, it didn't get to this worldwide phenomenon that exists today. But if you just think about life in the 1950s, how different life was, and I talked to my father about this, and he would just be, I mean, we would look forward to the Wonderful World of Disney so much on Sunday night. That's all we thought about. And Walt would show us these renderings of what he was building. And when Disneyland opened, it seemed like this thing no one could ever go to unless you happened to live there. And so he pushed it so much, and he changed the world. He literally changed the world.
Did.
Yeah, real quick on this one thought I had when you were talking about the things that have been said about Walt or not, and the thing that he did when he opened Small World in California tells me so much about the man, because he had a child from every country. You probably know this. A lot of people listening know it. A child from every country that's represented in the attraction bring a bottle of water from their country, and they all poured it at the same time into the attraction, bringing all the kids from the world together. That to me showed me, and we all know Walt was the ultimate showman, but this was more than that. This was deeper. This was, he wanted everyone to be together and have peace and harmony and happiness, and that's what that attraction's about. And
it was from the heart. It
really was. And I think that all his critics that exist or existed need to look a little deeper.
See, I love the backstory of Small World.
Yeah,
that is by far my favorite part of Small World. As far as criticizing, I think he made the most head-sticking song ever.
Well, that's true. It sticks with you. There's no doubt about it. There's no question that it sticks with you.
This man will randomly play it. I'm like, why would you do that? Now it's stuck in my head.
Yeah. Well, that's
why.
But
if you look at going on the Heart of Walt, and that's one of the reasons why we named it the Hearts of Disney podcast, is because Walt's heart. If you look at a lot of the attractions he was involved in, there was a lot of heart that went into it.
Yes.
There was a reasoning behind that attraction. I mean, you look at Carousel of Progress, which is one of my favorites. A lot of heart in that one. Like you said, Small World, all of them. So there was just a lot of heart in what he did. And I agree with you. People need to look deeper into what Walt really did. I think there's people out there still to this day that always make rumors about him and things like that. And it's like, did you even really pick up a book and read about him? Do you talk to people who knew him? Things like that. I mean, he created a place where families could do things together.
Yes.
Not just kids, not just adults. He wanted to see everybody together. Right. And again, that kind of shows you the kind of person he is.
It's sad the amount of people who don't understand that, the amount of people who hate on Disney adults. And you just go, it's not just for kids. Like, when they made this, they told people this is for adults and children and families. So I never understood the hate that people have for Disney adults.
Well, yeah, I mean, they do what you do when you're there, either by yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, is you're creating lasting memories, right? You're doing special things. You're not just going to an amusement park.
Mhm.
Okay, you're not just going on roller coasters. It's
Yeah.
a completely different thing. I mean, these are things that, I have grandchildren now, and see it now through their eyes after I saw it through my kids' eyes, and I still take my parents there, and they're almost 80. So
Mhm.
it's something that's generational and it stays with us forever, and I hope that it continues as long as possible, because that thing, I believe is missing as we move forward as people. Just that connection, that love, that dreaming.
Mhm.
It seems like it's fading away a little bit. We need more of it.
Yes.
You know.
Agreed. Agreed. I love talking to people like yourself who, like through your art, you're keeping Walt's dream alive.
Yes.
And I feel like people in the Disney community, whether it's art like yourself, it could be a podcast, could be a vlog, it could be um, maybe making your own designs and selling on t-shirts or whatever it may be. I love it when people have a part in Walt's dream and keeping that
Yeah.
alive.
Yeah, they really do. You keep it alive. You introduce it to new people. You may come across excuse me, express something from a different point of view that someone hasn't heard before. You learn something you didn't know. All of us have our stories. All of us have our special moments. I mean, I remember so many in my life, but one story that was so great was my son when he was 13 years old. My son Matthew, who's now 28 years old. I told him he was not doing very well at school at the time, and I told him that he made the honor roll. I was going to take him to Disney. We lived in Ohio at the time, so it wasn't a cheap trip. You had to fly, the whole thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we went, and I'll never forget. You go under, your inner world of this and that, and you go around, and you got to go around before you get to Main Street, and you see the castle, right? So we go around there, and when he sees that castle, he melted. I mean, just tears. I mean, he immediately went. He just, and
Wow.
you just unbelievable to see that emotion and to know that we had that memory together, and we had so many memories before, which helped that memory happen. And we talk about that kind of stuff all the time. And it's I harp on it to so many people because they'll always be like, well, why do you go so much?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there every other week.
Mhm.
So why do you go so much? Because it's perfect.
Yes.
It's
But
just
you
perfect.
could say the
Yes,
same
it
thing
is.
to other people too. Like, yeah, I go to Disney a lot. You go to the same vacation spot every year. What's the difference? Like,
Yeah.
it's just instead of going
It's our happy
camping,
place.
I go to
Yeah.
Disney. Instead of going
Right.
wherever, I go here. It's what makes me happy. And when we're stressed out and just we need a break, we go to Disney.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love when you were describing your son's reaction to the castle, because it just goes to show that it's not just a theme park.
Right.
For people to walk into there,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, when they see that castle, tears are flowing. It could be the 100th time they've seen that castle,
That's right.
and they still tears,
Yeah.
happy tears. But it just goes to show that it's not just a theme park. If it was just a theme park, we could walk into our local theme park. We're not going to walk in and just have happy tears.
No.
But when you walk into a place like Disney, whether it's
We're
Walt
home.
Disney World or Disneyland or wherever, and you see that castle sitting there, or you see Walt's apartment or whatever, like it's not a theme park. It's a perfect, like you said, a perfect place.
It makes you think of the quote from Finding Nemo where Dory's like, because when I'm with you, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel about Disney is when I'm there, I feel like I'm at home, and it makes me happy to be there. My kids are happy. We're happy. The last time we went there, I don't know if you heard this, but there was a couple next to us. I don't know if it was their first trip or whatever, but we had seen Happily Ever After. And the person next to me at the end was just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm crying over a fireworks show." And I was like, "Yep." Like,
yeah,
it's
you
touching.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. And you're like, I've seen this 50 times and I'm still crying.
Oh
it's
yeah,
Yeah.
every time I
you know what I
cry.
mean?
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep. And I'm kind of looking at your backdrop as you're talking right now too, and I have to say it's the perfect. Your backdrop could be called Walt's Dream right now. You're starting from Walt, goes down to Steamboat Willie, then you got Mary Poppins, and you go to Toy Story, and then you go to Up. I mean, I love.
Yeah, I didn't plan it that way, but yeah, you're right. It is. I mean, it's like, those were very significant moments in the company for sure. I mean, Mary Poppins. Oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah, I love Mary
Oh
Poppins.
my gosh, I
That's
love
why
it.
Saving Mr. Banks is one of my all-time favorite
The
movies.
amount of
It's
times I've
fantastic.
seen
It is.
the amount of times I've seen Saving Mr. Banks, I could quote it because
Yeah.
he watches it all the time. Like he'll come in, he works late and I work early. So we have a TV in our room and I could wake up for work and he's got Saving Mr. Banks on.
Right. Oh,
But,
it's
like,
a very special film. It really is.
One of my favorite films is Walt Before Mickey. And
Yeah.
technically it's not a Disney movie.
Right.
But it's one of my favorites to watch because I love watching how he was as a kid and where his company started and how it got to Mickey.
Yeah. Now, have you been to the Family Museum in San Francisco?
No, I want to go so bad, and I really wanted to go when we were in Disneyland, but I think it's like 3 hours from Disneyland.
Oh yeah,
or
it's a
something.
good drive. Yeah. So I used to live in San Francisco, so I was able to go a few times. I actually met Walt's daughter.
Oh, no way!
Before she had passed away. Yeah. So that is obviously I'm biased because I'm a Disney person, but that may be the best museum I've ever been in. It is so well done, so well thought out. It's in what they call the Presidio. It's right on the water, right on the bay. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge behind it, as you go into it. And, they have this main hall, which is incredible. It goes through like every period of his life. It's not just, okay, all the movies and stuff he did. It's about the man and what he and his brother did and all this stuff. And, faking faking his birth certificate so he can go, over and be with his brother in the Red Cross. But, the first cameras he used, all this kind of stuff. And it's just, they have these little, what do you want to call it? Little motifs that could be animated, but they're actually like kind of paper sculptures that move and stuff that tell a story in this room. And then you go in this other room and there's something else they've done creatively to tell a story about this period of life. And it's phenomenal. And there's a separate building behind the main museum that they switch out every so often. And, for a few months, it might be, The Art of Pinocchio, or it'd be The Making of Snow White, or it might be the war years when Walt lost his whole staff for the war, how they were able to put together some shorts during that period of time. So it's really looking at it from a different perspective. Very enjoyable.
That's really cool.
That he lost all his staff from the war.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, World War II was different. I mean, it wasn't a draft. I mean, people volunteered, and they wanted to go. They wanted to serve their country. It was important, so they went off to fight the Third Reich. And so he did have some staff, but it was a skeleton crew. It was mostly the ladies and the men that were 4F or too old. So they weren't really able to produce a lot of stuff. They just did some small things, some short films. And so really, so if you just go chronologically through the films, and you'll see Snow White, and you'll see Pinocchio and Fantasia and Bambi and Dumbo and Bambi, and you're like, okay, well, what happens between that and Cinderella? Well, what happens between that and Cinderella is a bunch of short stuff, Make My Music, Fun and Fancy Free, Melody Time, and Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad. These are all shorter things because they didn't have the staff to produce what they had produced before. And it starts back up after the war.
Wow. Yeah, I know someone else that had went to the museum, and they said that they were walking through, and I guess there was one room that was kind of dedicated to when when Walt passed away, I guess.
That was that's actually it's very emotional. So
that's what he told me.
Yeah, on the way out, he had planned on building another theme park, and I'm trying to recall where it is. I'm having a senior moment, but it was in a colder area. It was going to be more like a ski lodge resort.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, and
Northwest kind of
that's
thing.
where Country Bear Jamboree was originally going to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it never happened, but it was planned and talked about, and it fell through. But there's a shot of him sitting on, I think it's just a huge rock, just holding his hat up in the air. That was the last photo of Walt that was taken. And you can see he looked so sick.
Yeah.
But it's just, it hits you like, oh my gosh. I mean, this was
Yeah,
about it, you know.
He said he walked in and he said he lost it. He goes, I just lost it, he said.
Yeah, I mean,
he goes, there was no holding back the tears on that one.
think about it. I mean, 65. I mean, I'm 55. I mean, the world only had him 10 more years than I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how much more he could have given the world.
Yeah.
But you know, people didn't realize, you know, what
you
cigarettes would do to you back then.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder what he would think about where the Disney company is today.
Honestly, I don't know that he would love it. Honestly,
I think that a lot.
Yeah, I think that you know, some things he would love, like we love. You know, we love we love the tradition, we love all this stuff, but I think more and more it feels more corporate. You know, you know, it's, and we get it. You got to make money. I mean, I don't know how you disguise it, but when you think about when you're a company that's worth, I don't know what it was worth when he passed away, so forgive me, but let's say the company was worth $50 million when he passed away, and then you have a company that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, or revenue hundreds of billions of dollars, and you're like, okay, I needed 5,000 employees here. Now I need 200,000 employees, and you know, more parks, more attractions, more movies, more content, more this, more that. And it's kind of like the old story goes where the guy on the corner has the best soup anyone's ever had, and the line's a mile long, and they get a new guy that comes and says, I got an idea. We're going to water down the soup.
Yeah.
We'll get more people through that line, and we'll be more profitable. It'd be great. And at first it's wonderful, but then a month later they notice the line's only half as long. And no line at all.
Yeah.
Because you watered it down. So I think that's a challenge, and he probably would be very frustrated with that. I don't know if he would have a solution because it's so different. But that is one of the challenges that they have. I mean, the whole streaming has made consumers want everything now.
Right.
And they have to churn as much content out as they can to get new subscribers and to keep subscribers.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get the level that we have known. You know, I always say the enemy of great is good.
Right.
Okay, because when something is good by the Disney eye, it shouldn't be released, or at least that's the way it used to be. And now you got to get it done, and I got to get on to the next thing, and that hurts the product, sadly. So I don't know. I think there are some things that he would love, but I think it might feel a little out of control to him. You know?
Yeah, I could see, you could see that. And I think he might like the parks part of it better than probably the content side.
Yeah,
I think I agree. The content side, I think, kind of lost his vision a little bit.
Yeah, I think part of the content, you know, an example for like Disney Channel has gotten in a habit of canceling a lot of shows after 3 seasons.
Right.
And they don't continue it.
Right.
And I mean, they could be a really good show, and they just go, nope, we're done. Like it's done. And
yeah. So, but what happens with that is, so now I've done 3 seasons of something, and I don't know how many episodes that would be, because the episodes are, I mean, my gosh, when we used to watch shows many, many years ago, there'd be 25, 30 episodes of the season. Now we only get 6, 8, 10, whatever, you know. But now they have this block of content, and when you have a block of content, what can you do with that? Well, obviously people can download and play as much as they want, but then you can also sell it. You can sell ads on it. It becomes a big tool for revenue. So it's just a completely different world. So who knows? It just if everything that's created by Disney comes with this idea of, magic and love and what could be, what's possible, then I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, because Disney just keeps buying all these different companies. Like, would he be okay with that? Because he was in it for like the art and the characters and the magic, and now Disney owns Hulu and Disney owns Fox, and
sure. I mean, you have this
he owns that you're just like, why?
Well, I think you bring up a very interesting topic that sadly we don't have hours to talk about, but we could. The idea is what made them work is Walt was the creative, relentless wing, and then Roy was the financial penny pincher that kept Walt in line.
Yeah.
Walt would push to get what he wanted, but Roy would always have to find a way or say, you can't do that. And so Walt, even though this statement probably isn't true, but it seems like Walt really wasn't a businessman. He was a creative man.
Right. Yeah.
So he would have, I'm guessing, wanted to keep everything at this level of excellence, but the world we live in today would say you can't do that. Because if you do that, you're not going to be able to have all this other. But maybe that's better. I don't know. I mean, growth through acquisition, I think, is an important thing, but I think it does get to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, all these brands, and how do I keep all these brands at a level of excellence? I mean, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and Disney proper, just those main ones. How do you keep them all at that level? Well, it's not easy, you can see. But I mean, I just think about all the time when Eisner came in with Wells and Katzenberg, his nephew Roy Jr. said, "This company's number one business has been and will always be the film business." That was what he said. And we can't focus on all this other stuff. And it's kind of like what I was saying before about the machine. If you don't have the stuff to pour in the top of the machine breaks down. And what you're pouring in, what you need to pour in has to be great. It has to be memorable. I have spent, sadly, hundreds of thousands of dollars on stuff. It's just stuff. But it all means something to me. And I bought it, and I will continue to buy it. And I will continue to go to the parks and spread the word, because it gave me joy and purpose that I would have never had before.
Yeah, exactly.
It means something to me. I don't just see it as buying stuff, And
again, that falls in the line of having relatability with some of these characters. Like when Encanto came out, the amount of people who could compare to Luisa as being the older sibling, having to take care of all the burdens, and people related to her.
Yeah.
And I think the more relatable the story is, the better it succeeds.
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, with Up, you have these two people who fall in love and you go through their story. It's relatable. Even Toy Story, like as a kid, you thought your toys came to life as a kid.
Yeah.
When you weren't in the room. Relatable. Yeah. I mean,
relatable. Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's a perfect example of why, a lot of what you're saying is a perfect example of why I love Disneyland so much. I love Walt Disney World and Disneyland the same, but for two different reasons. And I love Disneyland because it still has that old-timey Walt feeling to it.
100%.
That you don't get at Walt Disney World. Yep. And you won't get that at Walt Disney World because, unfortunately, Walt passed away before it was finished and things like that. But I think Disneyland does a really good job of keeping that old-timey feel to it. You still get the Walt. I call it the Walt factor. Like, you still feel Walt's presence in that park.
I always feel like Walt's going to walk around the corner at any moment when I'm in Disneyland.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly. Yep.
Every time I'm there.
Yep.
It was nice because when we went, Brian would walk past the firehouse and just look up and be like, "Good morning." I'd
say, "Hi, Walt. Good morning, Walt. Good night, Walt." Every time I passed it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how you can still feel that presence there. It's unbelievable.
it's like we went there, and I'm just like, well, one, I couldn't believe that I was there, but the moment I walked past that firehouse where his apartment is at, I was like, this is a feeling that I really have a very hard time describing,
Yeah.
because I was just like, it's not like, oh my goodness, it's Walt's apartment. It's more of, I feel his presence. I
Yeah.
like, this is where it all started, theme park wise, and this is his baby. And I love that they still keep it with that old timey feel. And
Yeah.
like you said, I say it to everybody all the time. I feel like we're gonna see Walt coming down Main Street anytime, or like you said, around the corner anytime. Like,
Yeah.
you just feel him there.
I agree.
And I hope Disneyland never, ever, ever, ever loses that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because I mean, you only see two types of people in Disneyland. I think the locals, and then you got the diehard Disney fans.
That's right.
Disneyland is not really in an area where people flock to, because the theme parks over there are very spread out. It's not like
Yeah.
Orlando where they're all together.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, Disneyland has a lot of people, and we know some people who work there, and it's been very busy for the past couple of years there. But I don't think it'll ever be as busy as Walt
Oh
Disney
no.
World.
The thing that works in Disneyland's favor, it was a negative for the company for a very long time, but what works in their favor is they weren't able to buy the amount of land that they would have liked to. So everything's right up against it. But because
Yeah.
everything's right up against it, you can't get bigger. Right.
Yeah.
So it will always have that intimate feeling. They
Yep.
will
Yeah.
never be able to grow out of what we love.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. It's a very good point. Yeah, because now with the expansion, it's like they still have to work more within the means of what they have. I do believe they have a little bit of land, but not enough to, make this place massive. They, like you
No.
said, they never will.
Yeah.
But
No, let's see what
I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, I
because
do
when
too.
you go there, it's just like it like you said, it's that very homey, intimate kind of feeling,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Me too.
And Disneyland has a very, very special place in my heart. And as much as I love Walt Disney World, and I truly love Walt Disney World, but there's just something that Disneyland have that Walt Disney World will never have.
I agree.
Also, knowing that you're going into a park that literally had the creator in there with his opinions on things, it just makes you go, this is really nostalgic and beautiful to see.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yep.
It's him. It's what he wanted.
Yep.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right. So, I mean, we're gonna after our. I love the tangents, by the way, because
I mean, yeah, as long as I see we're at it an hour already. Wow,
it's all right. I mean, I love the tangents because it gives me a chance to really talk Disney, and I love talking Disney with people who really truly know, the history and everything like that. So I'm really loving this, to be honest.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
So,
you like me, it's been such a big part of my life, and I can't imagine life without it. I mean,
exactly.
It's just the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, as far as your art is concerned? And you've mentioned many ways of how it's really blessed you, but is there something you haven't mentioned, possibly, that your art has really blessed you in a way that you never thought would ever happen in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mention this before, and I think it's a good one. It's definitely given me a calm and an inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I'm someone that gets truly lost in their work. My wife will call it hyper focus.
Yeah.
And I was, teasing your daughter about how long I could, would sculpt and not realize how much time has gone by. But it's true. I will come in here and I will start working, and 8 hours will go by when I haven't left this chair, and I have no idea. And someone will be like, "It's what time?" I'll be like, "Excuse me," and it's just it. But I mean, I have time to reflect as I'm working. Think about things that I did, that I have to do, that I can do better, whatever. And it just gives me this calm. Like I used to love to cut the grass when I lived up north. We had this huge yard, and it would take forever. And I did it with a push mower, and I did that because it was great for my brain. It was very therapeutic. I loved that time. And that's what this does for me. It helps me sort out a lot of things in my head. In there's a scary place. So, so it's good that I have the time to figure that stuff out. So it's provided that. And yes, as I said before, I've made lifelong friends, and you folks are friends. And so it's nice to belong to a community that has so much love for something in a world that doesn't resemble the one I grew up in. It's fantastic to have people that all can come together on this subject, where there's all these other subjects that tear us apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like, kind of going back on some of the things we're just talking about, things that Walt has created. I don't know if he ever realized how many friendships he has made through what he has done.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, the Disney community is massive.
Massive.
And the amount of friends we have made that we probably would have never have made if it wasn't for Disney.
Right.
Like yourself and some of our other friends. Like
one of my best friend, I never would have met her if not for the Disney community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And when he was making his movies or getting the Disneyland started and stuff like that, I'm sure he wasn't thinking about, well, I can't imagine my friendships I'm gonna have people create down the line.
I can't even think that was
like it's so mind-boggling to think that this one passion that we all have, that a lot of us get made fun of for, brings so many people together. And it's like, if people would only be more accepting to Disney and Disney adults or Disney nerds or whatever, they would see how much happier Disney people are.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything, right? I mean, when we were kids, why do you pick on someone? I mean, in reality, because you're probably jealous, right? There's probably something. Why is that person so happy? They shouldn't be that happy. I'm not that happy.
Yeah.
And we're happy. We're happy, and it's like, they don't like. How could they be that happy? They shouldn't be. They should be miserable like me.
And the funny thing is, you can compare it to. There's different franchises that people are obsessed with, whether it be the Harry Potter group or
what
just different people who have, I am obsessed with this, or Lord of the Rings, or there's all these fan groups. So you go, okay, well, my love of Disney is the same for you, and your love of Universal, or your love of whatever. Like, the only difference is mine is Disney.
Yeah. I know the difference is ours is better.
Yes, it is. It is. And I always say Disney is not an obsession. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I truly believe it's a lifestyle, because there's obsessions out there, whether, if they're a sports fan or like you said, maybe Harry Potter or whatever. But I feel like Disney has its own lifestyle.
Oh, totally.
And it's just a way of life. I mean, yeah, we all have our own regular, may I say, regular boring lives. When you get into your Disney life, it's like, wow, it's nice and exciting, and you're so passionate about it. And when you get to meet different people like yourself who does the Disney art or whatever they're doing, like, it's like, wow, that's really cool what you do. And then they're like, oh, well, I really like what you do. Like, everyone has a part in Walt's dream.
Oh yeah.
And when you put it all together, it's just this massive legacy that he has left, and we all play a part in it. And it's just amazing to think, we're like, right now we're sitting here talking and we're continuing his legacy.
Yeah. 100%. And it's funny because I work at a coffee shop, and we'll have someone come through and they have like a debit card that has Disney characters, and I go, "Oh my gosh, I love your credit card," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're big Disney dolls," and then you go, "Oh, me too," and then you're sitting there talking, and then your boss goes, "Dude, the timer," and you go,
Right. Hurry up. Serve the drink. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm bonding.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. That's so
we go to church with a lot of people, Disney people. Our pastor's a Disney guy, so I
Yep.
mean, it's really cool that you know, when you become part of the community, everyone else comes out of the woodwork.
But it's like
really,
it's like finding a long lost relative. Like,
Right.
as soon as someone goes, "Oh, I'm a Disney person," and you just go,
I love
"Really?
it.
ears go up.
Really?"
Love it. That's awesome.
So on the next section of the show, we like, so you know, the first part we kind of go over who you
Mhm.
are, and you know, we go on a few tangents and things like that, and then the second part we like to talk about like some of your favorites,
Mhm.
because a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers like to, when they're getting to know one of our guests, they like to know those things, and I think that's just a
Yeah.
Disney. I think that's a Disney person thing. People who like Disney always want to know what's your favorite that and what's your favorite that. So we thought it's a good piece to add into like a section of the show to go over. So the, you
I
know,
love
all the
Well, our first question would be, what is your favorite Disney resort or park?
So it will always be the Magic Kingdom. You know, I mean, we go to all of them. There's maybe some attractions that I like at this park or that park or whatever, but if I could go to the Magic Kingdom every day of the week. It's just, that's where I feel like a kid. That's where it
Yep.
all started for me.
Mhm.
I could just sit on a bench by myself, do nothing, and be happy.
Yeah,
Agreed.
That's my
agreed.
place. That's my place.
So if you were sitting there on that bench watching everybody, is there like a favorite snack you'd enjoy with that?
That's a great question. So, well, when I was younger and in shape, I would always have to have, you know, my Dole Whip would always be my go-to. The Dole
Mhm.
Whip is just, oh my goodness, you
That's
know,
his.
and oh man, and I know you're gonna be like, well, which resort? Well, I mean, the Polynesian has Dole Whip, so I have to be there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Are
so
you
that
saying
is,
one?
so that's it.
His answers.
Oh my gosh. So, you know, when the kids were little, we would always try to stay where the monorail hits, you know, so it'd be one of the 3 hotels.
Mhm.
And that was great. And it was convenient for us. You know, now, you know, living here, we don't, we do a lot of day trips. You know, if we do stay, then maybe we will stay for one night there. But we definitely love the convenience of, you know, being close. But oh my goodness, I mean, the resorts are all so special, and they're always keeping them up. The grounds, the smells, everything like that. It's
Mhm.
fantastic.
Yeah, cool.
So when you're done eating your snack, what ride are you going on?
Your favorite
I'm a
attraction?
haunted mansion person.
Oh,
Yes.
There's nothing better than the haunted mansion. I don't care what new they come out with, what technology, what, I don't care. There will never
Yep.
be anything like the haunted mansion for me.
Yep.
Haunted Mansion, Pirates.
Yep.
No, reverse it. Pirates, Haunted
For
Mansion.
her, it's
Oh,
pirates.
you know
and
what?
Haunted
No,
Mansion.
well, here I'll help you a little bit with that.
Okay.
Pirates of the Caribbean in California,
Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean in Florida.
Yes.
there you
One
go.
in California is unbelievable. It is
Yep.
so much longer, so much better, so much
Yep.
more
Even the
going on.
bayou is so great.
Everything about it is just so much
Everything
better.
about
Yeah.
it is perfect.
Yeah.
I
It's the
thought it was
best.
gonna be really hard to like the one before I went in California. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much
Oh,
better.
it's the greatest.
Yeah.
It's the greatest. Yep.
Yep.
All right. So now you're going home. You're getting ready for bed.
Yes.
Favorite Disney movie?
Snow White. Yeah, that'll never change either. To me,
The original
it's
princess.
original and still the best. I don't think, you know, I mean, my second favorite is Beauty and the Beast, but literally, it cannot be touched. And I think it is blasphemous that they're making it a live action. That movie
That's a
cannot
whole
be
other
touched.
conversation.
And this
Yeah.
has nothing. This has nothing to do with casting. You know, this was said or that was said. No, this is the one thing that should never be touched.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not getting into any of that other stuff. That's all. That all that other stuff is like fertilizer for this conversation to grow.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
you
a
should
whole
not
other.
touch that.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But don't touch that because it's so special. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it, how long between watches, it still gets me. And the reason the story works so well is because it's just so simple.
Yeah.
Think about how simple this story is.
Mhm.
You're beautiful, but this woman's more beautiful. And because she's more beautiful, and you want this guy in the mirror to tell you you're more beautiful, she's got to go.
Yeah.
You're so pretty. Get out.
She's got to go.
Yep.
Life will not be good until she's gone.
Yep.
But
Okay,
it's
but
just
you know what? To some people, not me, but to some people, it's relatable.
it is relatable. But
You're
I
so
mean,
pretty. Get out of my life.
yeah. But I mean, it's like even if it's not your life, you watch that and you go, oh my gosh, just over something so vain. I
Mhm.
mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the personality that is given to every single dwarf, it's not like you didn't just name them. They actually have that in their personality. It's
Yes.
so well done.
Yes.
Yes.
So like when I was doing a little bit of storytelling through cartoons, what you do is you think about a character and how would a character act in a certain situation. Put every one of the characters in that situation. For example, you're walking on the street and you find a bag of money. Well, how does Dopey deal with that? How does Happy deal with that? How does Grumpy deal with that?
Yeah.
Think about that. Because every one of them's going to have a slightly different approach to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really thought it through, and it's so amazing.
It is.
So
It is.
special.
I agree.
Another day, we're gonna have to just chat as friends because we could go on to this subject for so long.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like I said, for me, it's easy to get into that other stuff, but
Yeah.
it's just like, why would you even touch it?
Yeah.
Why would you even touch it? It just
Yep.
makes no sense to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So our last two questions are very special. And I think they're special to really any Disney person, but
Yeah.
and so this one's a Walt question. If you had the opportunity to sit down with Walt, have a cup of coffee, or walk one of his parks with him, or anything like that, and you got an opportunity to have a conversation or a question with him, what would that conversation or question be for him from you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fantastic question, and I've never thought about that till I saw the question from you, and I would love to hear how others have answered this. Obviously, I mean, there's so many things that you could talk to him about, but I feel like wondering what Walt would have been without this
Mhm.
would be an interesting thing to explore. Think about how many of us in the world have tried things and failed. He tried things many times and failed.
Yep.
Filed bankruptcy many times before he actually hit it. But what if he would have never hit it? What would he have been doing? So I would love to ask him about other things that he loved or that he cared about. Because I mean, there's a lot of us that in life get stuck in a job that maybe we don't really like, but we do it because we have to.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so this dream didn't work out. Maybe someday it will. Whatever. And I would love to learn other things that we already know.
That would be. That's actually a really good answer.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So our last question for you, in your opinion, what makes a Disney heart?
Because we are the Hearts of Disney podcast, so we love to ask that question.
I think it's really magic. I mean, that's to me what this is all about. It's like I think all these things, like, I don't know what it is today. I hope this is still on the list, but it was like, okay, we have to have obviously a strong story. Okay, we have to have a hero or heroine that is vulnerable and they have a dream. Okay, there's an obstacle in the way, right? And that's typically in the form of a villain. Okay, and there's a
Yep.
funny sidekick, right? Always. That's what makes
Yep.
these movies so memorable. You've got these sidekicks,
Mhm.
but there's that extra piece that is always sprinkled on top, which is the magic.
Wow, I love
Okay,
it.
and without
Love it.
that, like I talked about before, it doesn't go from good to great. So that
Wow.
magic is, I think, what's in all of our Disney hearts that keeps us going and telling our stories and getting together and going
Yep.
back again and again and again
Yeah.
and again
I love
and
it.
again.
Wow, I love that. That's so key. Yeah, the magic.
Yeah, the magic.
Yep. You don't have the magic, you don't have Disney.
You don't. You know,
Yep.
it's hard to really explain what it is. I mean, the word is kind of vague. You know,
Yeah.
what is that? What is magic?
Yeah.
Well, it's you feel it. It's just a feeling.
It's like, just come on over and experience it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
be open to it.
Once
Be
with a
open to it.
Disney adult.
Yeah. I say this a lot. People need to get out of the vacation mode and go with an open heart to the Disney magic, and
Yeah.
they will experience a whole nother Disney.
I think
Absolutely.
people just need to go with just go once with no expectations and go with a Disney adult.
Yep.
And let the Disney adult
Guide the way.
guide everything. Like let
Well,
them
it's funny
just
because,
go for the ride.
when you've done it so many times, you look at it differently. Like, it's fun just to like take a couple hours walking down Main Street. Just look at the architecture of the buildings.
Yes.
Mhm.
Take a look at how everything fits perfectly together, and then walk around a corner and where you may hear someone in the dentist chair getting a tooth pulled, and you may hear some other sounds and smells that you didn't know were there, and take a
Mhm.
look at the cobblestone and see how that's placed and how intentional it is.
Mhm.
It's such an experience. It can be different every time because
Yep.
if you look beyond just, oh, I did this and I did this and that, it's there's a whole nother level to it.
Yeah.
You know,
It really is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Gary, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the
Oh,
show
thanks,
today.
Brian. Thanks, Jess. Appreciate you.
We
Thank
love the conversation. We love hearing about your art and just our Disney tangents that we went
Just
on.
having
And
fun.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's I love when we have these kind of shows. It's a little more free flowing
Yeah.
because we don't want it to be just structured to this question, this question, this question. It's more of let's have a conversation. Let's get to know the guests we have and what they like about Disney. Let's hear about what they have, what they're offering Disney community, like your art, which is again absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
And yeah, we just loved, and it's been an absolute privilege and honor having you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
What was that?
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We
definitely
enjoyed having you on. But before we end this segment, is there you want to mention any of your plugs again?
Oh yeah,
so
very
people know where to
simple.
find you?
Everything me can be found at GaryPilla.com. You see the spelling of my name on the screen. Hopefully it's listed somewhere else so I don't have to go through that. And I post every day on Instagram, literally every day on Instagram. It's Insta Disney Art. And yeah, I love to post things in progress so you can see the stages. Sometimes it's finished pieces. Once in a while, I'll talk to you about how I did things a certain way, what things meant to me, and they also end up on Facebook as well. So I don't do this to become rich. I do this to continue to share feelings. I hope you've learned from me that it's not just about making this stuff. This stuff it means something to me. I do these things because it's in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we always like to give any time for the guests. If you have, do you have any any encouraging words that, like, for you, maybe someone that's that really wants to do art like you, or to a Disney, someone that wants to get into the Disney community, whatever it may be. Do you have any kind of encouraging words to add?
Well, as far as art goes, just start. You know, I'm actually going to start doing classes online. So anybody
nice.
that starts following me, or you'll see some of that being promoted. But just get started. You know, you're born with a talent, no doubt. Okay. I can't go out and practice every day and become LeBron James. Okay. You're born with a talent. But I believe that if you do something every single day of your life, you will get better. And if you do have a love and a talent, you will become great. But, you know, it takes patience. It takes, and it takes love. I mean, you're going to find out when you put more and more into it, if you love it. You know, I never get bored because I love it. I don't care if I mess something up and have to do it again because I love it. You know, put your heart into it. And this goes for anything, obviously. You know, put your heart into it and work at it every single day, and you will become great. And, you know, I feel sorry that there are so many people when it comes to being part of a Disney community, you know, and like going to the parks and do this stuff. It's a lot of money. And not everybody can afford to go. And they may hear us talk and go, oh, man, I wish I could do that. And, you know, someday that will happen for you. I believe that. But there's so many places you can learn about Walt, learn about what Walt has done, not only through Brian and Jess's podcast, but I mean, it's literally everywhere. And there's so many books and great stories. I mean, Disney's 9 Old Men, if you just Google that, you'll learn about them and their stories, what Walt was really like, and just this incredible level of effort and care to create what we all love. So just, you know, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Well, I love it. I love it, Gary. And again, Gary, thank you for coming on the show. It's been an honor and
It's been a
privilege.
pleasure, and I'll keep watching and appreciate you.
Awesome, and we appreciate you, and we'll definitely talk to you real soon.
You got it. Be good.